Does a business continuity plan include? What does it even mean? Hey friends, Kendall Matthews here, your business technology broker for life, and I wanted to get more information, so I interviewed a business finance strategist. His name is Phil Singleton with John Driscoll and Company. They specialize in this type of business planning. Listen, you need to watch the entire video because I left a late Easter egg surprise for you. If you find it, I will give you a free software widget valued at $199 for your website to help boost online reviews. Here's a late Easter egg hint. It's obvious. The hint is, who is Africa? That's right, who is Africa? I look forward to reading your answers in the comments section. Watch this interview now.
For this for some time. I'm in my office. I'm not at home because I
Right.
can't get crap done at home with her. So I'm in the office, all quiet here right now. Our office is considered a vital office.
Oh, so it
Even
is essential.
because of the financial services, people need to have move their money or whatever. So
Right, right. Well, it's one of the things that nowadays it's so important for individuals to understand about, we got business things going on and personal things going on, and it's kind of meld it all together. And that's why I wanted to talk to, yourself, Phil, and to just get a hot take on some of the things that are going around in your world, especially with regards to business continuity. That's some of the things that I'm working on from a technology side, as a technology broker and advisor, helping businesses save money through technology and software and figuring out how they can continue to survive through the different changes and the challenges that are in our world now. And when we talked about the things that you're doing in business continuity from the finances side, I'm like, wow, we need to really, wrap and get to, and talk a little bit more about some of the things that's going on in your world and seeing how we can work together and all that. But, it's funny how when you and I met years back, where was that at Arizona Tech Council, right?
yeah, we were at your office and you actually did a presentation that impressed the heck out of me.
Thanks.
I guess like he knows what he's talking about.
Some days. Exactly. Just don't tell my wife, right?
And you're like, oh man, I hope this guy just doesn't look bad.
No, thank you very much.
So I
Um,
asked you actually at the meeting. I asked you a difficult question, and I don't even remember what it was, but I remember you answered it the right way that I have that people want to hear it, and people that knew me there, because a lot of people knew me at that particular event. They go, Phil, that was a great question. That guy's really smart.
no, man, I'm talking about you're the smart one because we get into all the business continuity things, but the things that we talked about offline before about how you dug into your own, history and understanding that and then bringing that together, like, that was fascinating to me.
Well, I'm kind of like a weird duck that way, and I remember when I was in college and playing, football in college, the guys on my team thought I was abnormal.
Right.
Yeah, so they're like, "Where is he from? He doesn't speak the language." And like, I remember I was born in New Mexico,
Oh,
so
okay.
my first accent was like I was from Spanish. I used to go like, "What are you doing, híjole ese de órale?" That's how I spoke till I was in like the fourth grade. And then when we
Really?
moved to California, um, people would ask, "Where are you from?" And I'm from New Mexico, and they're like, "What?" So, and then we were in a college town, Davis, California. So there were actually no ethnicities there. I grew up in an environment where the only other black people was my brothers and sisters,
Wow.
pretty much most of my life. So when I went to college and played football, everyone there were 39 black people on our football team in
That,
Weber State in
wow.
Ogden, Utah, out of 65. And most
Wow.
people were from Texas, California, I mean, all over. So there we had championship blue chip players from all over. It was a really interesting mix. So I'm up there walking around trying to meet people, and they're like, "This dude, I don't know about him." But when we got pads on, everything was the great equalizer.
Exactly. Like we're talking about how hard you hit. So, so were you like the Ronnie Lott of Weaver State? Is that what was going on with you?
Pretty much more like Jack Tatum. Ronnie Lott, I thought was a sissy for a long time, but I actually On offense, I thought when I played running back in high school, I thought I was, Sweetness, Walter Payton.
Mm-hmm.
And but on defense, I thought I was Jack Tatum. And his reputation as being the assassin, that was his nickname.
The
So
assassin.
the idea was to hit people so hard that every time you hit them, they remembered that you were the guy who was going to, so everyone was nervous. They were nervous. So when first day of pads in college, first thing I did was find out who my competition was, try to eliminate.
There you go. It's like somebody is going down.
Yeah, but at least
you.
they're gonna know that I hit somebody that hard, and to just leave him alone. After a while, I had a reputation. You could ask people that I played with, if you go on Facebook and say, "Can Phil hit?" They go, "Yeah, that guy's a nut. Just leave him alone. He may study and go to class and stuff, but do not hit him because he'll light you up." So that's what my reputation was all through college.
Wow. And going through that whole experience, how did you transition into what you're doing today in finance?
Well, actually, I worked for a pharmaceutical company for 17 years, GlaxoSmithKline.
Mm-hmm.
I did climb the corporate ladder thing. And then I had some issues with that, and I don't want to talk about that right now because we have limited time.
Right.
So I actually transitioned to having my own company, an exporting company. I exported medical supplies and pharmaceuticals to Indonesia. And that was going great till they got rid of the dictator there, and it messed up the whole exchange program. So I ended up going back in the pharmaceutical industry, working for a company called Novartis. And they're on the news now because of this COVID thing. They had a product for that. And then I decided to be more independent. And so that's when I got in the financial industry. And I've been doing this for almost 20 years now.
Wow.
So I'm a lot older than I look. I'll just put it that way.
Hey,
So I've been doing this. So the transition was doing things that I had control over, as opposed to, doing that. I call it the corporate Brownnose thing, but some people are good at that. Some people aren't. And if the king has no clothes on, I'm pretty much the guy that's going to say something about that.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that's not good in certain aspects of corporate America.
Well, I know that you have to deal with and work with a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners.
Absolutely.
And so during these times that are going on, have you seen, what are the three things that you help people with through now as you're going through this process of helping them with their continuity plans? And before you even answer that, what is business continuity
you can call business continuity plan or business continuation planning the same thing. In other words, if something goes wrong, is the business going to continue? Is it going to be around the way you perceive it's going to be around? And have you looked at every aspect of it to make sure that business is going to survive? And not just survive, but thrive during your absence or leaving. Because like I had told you a long time ago, every business owner will leave that company. They're going to do it one time or another. They're going to do it on their terms, or they're going to do it on somebody else's. And what you don't plan for, then you're basically leaving that to someone else to decide for you what's going to happen with your life, family, or whatever after you leave that company. So being an entrepreneur myself, after I did the corporate America stint, I understand how those guys think. And most business owners in the United States are actually really good leaders. And they're really good at standing on their own and making their own decisions. They're kind of stubborn to a certain extent, and they don't want to be told what to do. But then sometimes they don't know that they have blind spots. So coming in from my point of view, I know how they think. So after I develop a relationship with them, they understand that I'm just like them. Someone who's going to go out there and make something happen. But on the other side, what are you going to do to take care of the blind spots? That's the continuity planning aspect that I look at overall for the business.
Gotcha. So what are some of the blind spots that some of these business owners and entrepreneurs have?
Well, the ultimate blind spot for an owner of a company is that what happens if you get hit by the old beer truck and you die? No one ever thinks it's going to happen to them. But when it does happen, what do they perceive is going to happen? And verbalizing that for a business owner is hard for them to do. If I ask them what's going to happen, well, that's never going to happen. Obviously that's not, unless they actually saw it happen to one of their friends, someone close, you don't see it, or you see it on television and that's far away. That's not something that they internalize themselves, is what are you going to do? Now, what's interesting about I'm stereotyping men and women. That's how men business owners think.
These are the
Women
men.
business owners are a
It's
little bit
not going to happen.
different on that. Pardon me?
You said the men are like that. It's not going to happen, whatever.
Yeah, they're all guys are all always in denial anyway. You know, you ask the guy to go to the doctor. He's not going to the doctor. You put some ice on it, shake it off. I mean, but where that whole nurturing thing, some guys have that naturally with them, and they're able to perceive things that are going to happen in the future. But I'd say the majority of hard charging business people that happen to be male are less likely to plan that far ahead. Now, when I mention that concept with female business owners, they're more likely to take charge and they go, you know what? I want to take care of that so I don't have to worry about it or think about it. Where guys can just separate it from their mind and go, I'm not thinking about it, and they don't think about it.
Right, right. Yeah, it's a lot of individuals who are, like, especially right now, they're thinking about primarily how to transition their on-premise teams to doing remote work, and then how to manage that process and all of that, the technical infrastructure of how to be able to continue to thrive and just to survive during these times. Yet what you're talking about, they need to think about that as well, because you never know.
Yeah, you never know until you're actually in the midst of it. Then you're more likely to bring it to attention. Or if, like I said, if someone had it happen to a friend of theirs, and they'll bring it up when it touches. Or the people who really take charge are people whose parents went through it, and they don't want the same thing to happen to them as their dad that did it or something. I have clients that are farmers in different parts of the United States, and people, when people talk about losing farms, it's usually because they don't have an estate plan in place. It has nothing to do with, they might have some kids to do it, but the estate tax for federal is pretty low, or the number is high right now, so they're not likely to get that. But the state estate tax is high in certain states like Iowa. It's still down to $1 million. So if you have a $10 million farm and you wait, and 50% of that is $5 million is due to the state tax, and you don't have that taken care of or planned for it, your child who you thought was going to take over that farm is no longer going to get that farm. They're going to lose that to taxation, and people will wait for those things to happen and to scoop those farms up, and just because of paying the tax.
So then if you wait for some of these things to happen, like, how long does this process that you're talking about? Because right now I'm trying to still wrap my mind around what it actually looks like. So how long does it take? Like, what are the steps? Because I know for me, it's like, all right, someone would call, they have a pain point, they need to transfer their on-premise phone systems to the cloud, or they want to have security. So I connect them with a sales engineer. They have a meeting, maybe about a week or so, and then, we're done. We can go ahead and go and make them whole in a new environment in about 2 weeks or 4 weeks, depending on what their infrastructure looks like. Well, so for you, what does that look like? How long does it take?
It can take months to put it in place. The reason being because there's a lot of different levels that go into it. The first problem is for the owner to articulate that they have a problem, that they have not planned what they're going to do in all those different steps, and then they have to talk to their spouse. What are they going to do with that if it occurs that way? Who's going to do it? So this is a family thing. It's not just a one business person make that decision. But if someone's married and they have, or married a couple times and they have kids from 2 different marriages, but they like one side, they kind of don't like the other side, but they want equity all across the board. That's a discussion that needs to take place. What if a company has a business owner who's owning the company, has a partner, and his partner has a different vision than the other owner does on what they perceive is going to happen? So a lot of times they won't have that discussion, even though they need to have that discussion. They'll sit out there on the table, and they don't bring it up because they're like, well, I don't know what he thinks. I've had that happen several times. The two different business owners, one guy wants to talk about, the other one doesn't. Or someone's a father in the company and the son's running the company. The father doesn't want to talk about it. He's in denial. I have a company that I did a couple months ago. It was really interesting. The son wanted to do something about it. The dad came in when he was in his office doing the accounting. The dad was the owner of the company. He started it. That's actually a, what do you want to call it? One of those companies that's a drywall company. They have 300 employees, a drywall company. The dad was divorced from the son's first mom. His revenue is about $12 million a year right here in Phoenix. Mm-hmm. The dad came in and said, well, I came to talk to you today. He opened the door of the kid's office and said, if I die, give half to your sister, and walked out the door. And that was it. And then he went on a plane with his girlfriend to Europe. That was his estate plan.
Wow.
And then he called his son and said, whatever you do is fine, just take care of it.
There you go.
That was it. So with no legal stuff in place, no paperwork in place, so the attorneys are going to be involved in any decision that takes place. Nothing's going to happen the way they perceive it to be because there's so many moving parts. You transfer wealth from one to another. There's taxes that are incurring. There's all the benefits that who are in charge. Just like if you make a 401k and try to transfer that to another person, there's going to be consequences on how that's done. It's even more complex with a business. So that's why it can't just happen like overnight. Like some business owner will wake up one day and go, you know what? I've been doing this for a long time. I'm done. I'm out. In fact, I'm going to sell my company. So they go call their CPA and go, hey, what's the value of my company? And they go, well, I don't know. Yeah, ballpark, it's probably worth, 10 million. They go, really? 10 million. Cool. That means when I sell my company, I'm out $10 million.
Right. Isn't that right?
That's what they perceive.
It's a number right there.
Yeah, boom. My CPA said it was $10 million. They didn't have, the company's only valued at what someone's willing to pay for it at the end of the day. So that's like one of the first steps. Do a valuation of the company. How long does that take? It depends on the complexity of the company. So that's why you can't just do it in the whole process from start to finish in a month. Another example of moving parts.
Gotcha. So as you're doing that business valuation, what does that look like? So do you do that?
It depends on the complexity of the company. I have software that can do some business valuations, but if it's something that's more complex, I will pay another company to do a valuation, or maybe their books aren't in line. Then I have to have someone who has to do a forensic analysis of their cash flow because no one's done it, or they've had their secretary doing their books as opposed to a real CPA. So you can see how you start adding those different things up. The books aren't where they're supposed to be. The guy's been using the company as a personal, bank account. He's pulling money out to buy a RV and Suns tickets, and legally you really can't do all that stuff. But he's been doing it all these years, so they think it's a piggy bank. And so you have to have a forensic accounting service go in and make sure that everything in the books are online before you can even talk about any aspects of whether the plan is good or not.
And so what you do is kind of rope all these things together, because like a cowboy, just put it all together.
Well, that kind of like, it's more like a quarterback. I kind of quarterback the process, because I'm looking at it because I know all the pitfalls that they can't see. And the reason they have those pitfalls because that's not what they do. They don't look at how their CPA has to be integrated with their attorney and how that's going to flow through in the valuation and where the CPA, everything lines up. Let's say they're getting ready to sell the company, and the buyer's not going to do anything till they look at the books. That's the first thing that they're going to do is make sure the company is valuated the right way. So that could be a problem in and of itself if it hasn't been done right. So I refer a lot to different types of CPA groups. Just you name it. I have a list of people that I go through and growth of the company that they need to look at in order for create efficiencies all the way through.
When you're looking at those efficiencies and creating them all the way through, what are some of the, you can tell us a story about one of the hardest, things that you had to go through to help someone realize that this is the process that they need to go through, and here's the specific steps.
Well, in the back of their mind, I just want them to articulate what they perceive is going to happen. And then I'll start checking things off. Okay, this guy perceives this needs to be taken care of. And then I'll go back later on after I basically get as much data gathering that I can, and I'll go step by step every aspect of the process that covers everything they possibly can think about all the way through. Then they know whether or not the company is secure. And you've heard the phrase, if you take your business and are you working on your business or is the business working on you? You've heard things like that before. If it really depends on the level of management team that they have in place, who all's working in the company, who's actually doing the work. And because that's part of the human resource part that needs to be dealt with too within the space of the company. Key employees. Now, if an owner owns a company and they're getting ready to sell, the last thing you want to do is tell all the employees that, yeah, Billy Bob wants to get out of the company. Then their morale drops. You know, those are other moving parts that people need to think about and articulate all the way through. I had a big company in Tucson that was a developing company, and they've been around for 38 years in Tucson. Well-known development company, and I was asked to come in and help them do that, their evaluation, and also help them do the process so their continuity plan would be intact, and also how they could exit the company in the future. And after I did an analysis, I found that the wife of one of the owners was burning through cash of the company, doing between $15,000 and $150,000 a year in taking all the family and kids to Europe every year as part of their vacation. And that was sucking out value of the company every year. But she just did that because that's what she thought she should do, because her husband owned this big, company all these years. And when I remember sitting down with them and going all their numbers. Whoops. And she happened to be there. I have never seen someone so livid in my whole life.
At you?
At me. She thought, who the heck is this guy coming in here telling me that I can't continue to spend $150,000 a year on vacations with my grandkids, and I've been doing that for 20 years. But because the company was basically a great developer company, all the business was done by the owner of his relationships that he had with people in Tucson to get business all the time. So there was no intrinsic value in the company for something to be sold. So they weren't selling a tangible, they were selling a concept because of his relationships with people. That was the value in the company. So there was no value in the company at all to sell or buy, because after he left, who they're going to do business with?
Where's all your relationships? So
yeah, it was his relationships that he developed over those years. So my concept for them, their end game, was to have them push as much cash as they can in now and buy themselves out, and they can have a big chunk of change and live happily ever after.
So there
didn't go over
is
too
a
well.
way if you have like just a relationship business, but it's
right.
But don't think you're going to get bought out because you are just the number one relationship. Everybody knows you and all of that. That doesn't mean you really have a true sellable business.
Absolutely. So you can see how that kind of affects the timing of how things were going to work.
Right. Man, you have such, and that's what I like about you, Phil, all the knowledge and in-depth and the stories that we always talk and share back and forth. So it's really good. And, we should still continue to do this, and just keep, checking in and seeing what things are going on in your world, and talk about mine a little bit in technology and as a broker and advisor. But it's great to be able to connect with you, and I appreciate everything that you're doing. So, and I'll make sure that people connect with you very, very soon.
Okay. Well, hey, I appreciate it. I'll make sure that you do what you do. I like people who can get stuff done. That's just my big thing. And when I refer someone in, which I do a lot, I just don't want to hear about it later on that someone did a bad thing, because then I'd have to go football off on them.
Here comes Jack Tatum.
Yeah. Rip his head off, spit down his neck.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you soon, my man. I'll tell you later. All right.
All right. Thanks.
And we are done. Ask me the question.
You were a football player, but you were also in drama too.
Yeah. So I had in middle school, Barnwell Middle School in St. Louis. I had a great teacher. Her name was Miss Africa. And so
Did you say Africa?
Yeah, Miss Africa. She's not
Where's
from
she at?
Africa, but her name is Miss Africa, and she's awesome. And
Okay.
she's up here in North Scottsdale, well, not even Scottsdale. It's like way out. Like it's like an hour away from Scottsdale. But I wanted to be an actor, and that was one of my goals when I was younger. But then football was able to just be a great path for me. But my brother, he's actually an actor out in Hollywood, and he's been doing that ever since I think 1999 or so. He was able to move out to Hollywood and do great things out there, right from Jump Street.
Would I know who he is?
His name is Carnell Matthews. I know you can go ahead and Google him, but he hasn't done any big movies, but he's been able to have a sustainable acting career out there. And so, but television and producing and being radio, that has been my passion for a long time. And now during all this things that are going on, I'm like, let's go ahead, and this is like the great American reset right now. The reset button has been pushed. So those things that you've done in the past, if you had a dream, you had a vision, you better get on them right now. And so that's why I'm just doing all these videos and recording. I'm like, hey,
that's funny.
I missed all that opportunity because I was, running after football and then was injured. And had a third-degree rupture in my quadricep muscle when I was playing at Purdue.
Wow.
Yeah, my senior year. And so that kind of took everything away. But I really enjoy in the entertainment business piece of it, but the ones that I can control. So if I'm going to do something, I want to be able to be the Tyler Perry type, I don't want to go out to auditions and doing that. I want to have the concept and then execute the concept and then see if there's a market.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I have like a ton of relatives that are in Hollywood right now that are doing things like I have a cousin. His name's Dennis Singleton, and he was. You remember? I don't know if you knew a long time ago. They had a traveling Sesame Street show, and there was Big Bird. That used to dance. Well, he was Big Bird, the dancing Big Bird.
Oh, is that right?
The interesting thing about him, he had a football scholarship at Oregon State. He went up there, and his freshman year they were going to move him from cornerback to strong safety, and he got mad and quit the team.
What?
Because they moved him to strong safety. Because he had a big EU when he was in high school. He played at one of the big Gar High School in Southern California.
Gotcha.
So. But now he works with Jimmy Kimmel, and he does dancing and stuff right now. But I have pictures of him doing all kind of crazy stuff. But he was on TV a couple months ago, with Jimmy Kimmel. I think he does their security. He's like real ripped, but he also sings too. He does that, that kind of like the Spinners. He has his own group in LA area, and they cover some of those old songs and stuff.
They do the little dancing and all that too.
Yeah, he can. He's just one of my cousins. Then I have another cousin that remember when O.J. Simpson did their thing with what's that guy? When O.J. Simpson killed his wife. What was the name of that
did
one?
That thing. So there's only like now one thing that comes into mind.
The Thing, but other than he was a good running back, but but. His other brother, my other cousin, his brother was also in that. What's that? Cato. Remember that guy, Cato? He was like on trial. Well, that was one of his best friends.
Oh, really?
So one of my other cousins. So I have like history in Hollywood with a lot of my relatives, and also the high school I went to. A ton of people from my high school were in plays and were dancers for Michael Jackson. All the Thriller video, those are people from my high school that were in that.
Wow.
And I have a picture of me. I was in a play called Babes in Toyland.
You said what?
Babes in Toyland.
Babes in Toyland.
Babes in Toyland. And I was also in Pirates of Penzance.
Pirates of Penzance.
And this was in junior high.
Okay.
So I have my stint, and my older brother was more of the actor guy than I was, and he was in several of them, and he had lead roles. He was in Cheaper by the Dozen.
Oh,
And he had the lead role as the father in Cheaper by the Dozen. That means he had 12 kids in that particular one. So we have some history, and I mean, that's not really, I think, more logically and scientific, but I'll go there. I can't sing a lick. When I sing, people turn around and go, "Man, I thought you were black."
like, no, man.
You can't sing a lick.
Can you play basketball?
I can. I shoot up. I throw up bricks, just like the best of them.
Exactly.
I can throw up so many bricks that I actually have a contractor's license for.
All right, my man.
But when they put me in basketball in high school, I was the guy who would go in and shut people down.
Right.
You go in there and you cover that guy and shut him down.
Right.
I could jump really high, but since I was my main sport was football, so I was doing that. I just didn't spend the time to just have one of those soft shot guys. Can you play?
Skill. It's a different skill.
Are you a basketball player too?
No. When I tried to play basketball, it was more like, just like yourself, you're the Jack Tatum of. I was playing like gorilla ball. I was like, forget that. Let's go ahead and hit you. That's all I did. So.
Well, my arms are really long. Your arms are supposed to be your height.
Oh, is that right?
You know that about from fingertip to fingertip?
Uh-huh.
My reach on my arms is 6'5", fingertip to fingertip. I'm only 6 foot, so I could punch a long ways and hit people and jump up and dunk, and I was doing all this stuff, and they go, "Man, that guy's he's out there." These really long arms. So.
That's right. That's hilarious. Cool.
You never know.
Well, let's connect soon, my man. I really appreciate it, and make sure we wrap up together here really quickly.
Okay. Well, next time we'll talk more about whatever you want, and I'll get it done.
All right. Thank you, Phil.
All right. Have a good one.
Thanks for watching my chat with Phil Singleton. I hope you found the answers to the Easter egg hunt. Now remember to click the like button, and if you appreciate technology and finance, subscribe to this channel and click the notifications button. Also check out on Netflix Madam C.J. Walker's story. It's about the first female self-made millionaire. There are many powerful scenes on the importance of business continuity planning. As always, ramp up and keep moving forward.